affairs. It's another week and we wish all women a happy International Women's Day. The theme globally is gender parity. In Ghana, well, we have quite a different theme, but still tailored along that of the global agenda. But tonight we'll be discussing if really we can achieve gender or global gender parity or gender parity in this country. Of course, women are making strides. They're working hard. They're making a lot of advancements socially, economically, and politically. But is it enough to ensure parity? My guest tonight will be discussing the role of women. And of course, there are two women, the Executive Director of the Women Initiative for Self-Empowerment and also Deputy Convener, the Women's Manifesto. They will both, together with the CPP second vice chairperson, they will both be in the studio to talk about women and the International Women's Day. In the meantime, let's look at some stories. The First Lady has been speaking and she's urged men not to be threatened by the power of a woman, since a stronger woman makes a better home. According to the First Lady, it is unfair to deprive women the right to make choices in life, even as they contribute immensely to the creation of life. In a statement to commemorate the International Women's Day, today, Lordina Mahama said women are not seeking help, but rather an opportunity to contribute their quota towards life. In other news, Speaker of Parliament Edward Doe Ajaho has decreed that MPs write and wait for permission to be granted before absenting themselves from official duties. Edward Doe Ajaho said the House can only defend members when they have sought the needed permission for such official duties. This follows the Minority Leader said Chairman Sabunzu's objection raised over being marked absent during last Friday's sittings while he was away on an official assignment. But the Speaker insisted the form for leave of absence did not reach his office. He said the only time members will be marked absent with permission is when members have applied and permission had been granted by his office. Our nurses at the Accra Psychiatric Hospital are lamenting that the children's ward lacks detergents and diapers. They're therefore calling on philanthropists to help with the situation. Nurses at the hospital say they resort to racks anytime they run out of diapers and detergents. In an effort to support the hospital, one lady from GH1 TV, Soa Intl, TV presenter, donated assorted items including food, water and diapers to the hospital. So that was the donation earlier today, and that's the lady in your shot, Sewa, together with her friends from GH1 and other celebrities who joined her to feed them. You can see Bella Mundi as well in that shot, and they fed over 500 patients at the Accra Psychiatric Hospital. Most of them cannot cater for themselves or feed themselves. And also Sewa and her team interacted with some of the patients who have really been cured but have no one to go to. Goes to talk about the protection or the protective cover we have in our society. So those are the items in your shot: rice, water, diapers. And of course, the nurses in charge of the children's ward not particularly happy at the lack of detergents and diapers for the children, and they showed how they relied on racks. Very soon you'll be hearing from one of the nurses, together with the lady Soa Intl, who decided to celebrate her birthday today at the Accra Psychiatric Hospital. So if you're watching and you're touched, you may want to contribute to the Accra Psychiatric Hospital, especially the children's ward. Any amount will be very necessary. It will go a long way to help the children in there. And if you can afford the diapers as well, the nurses will be most grateful. All right, we're taking a short break. We'll be back right after this. Do stay with us. You're welcome back to the show. We'll take some quick facts about the International Women's Day. Yeah, welcome back to the show. And just some interesting one here. The World Economic Forum predicted in 2014 that the world could achieve global gender parity by 2095. Now, just last year, after an estimated slowdown, the WEF said that indeed that target could not be reached by 2095. They actually predicted that global gender parity could only be met by 2133. Now, that's a very long time and a long way to go for women who are advocating some form of equality in our society. Well, tonight I'm joined by Ajua Bame. She's the deputy convener for the Women's Manifesto Coalition of Ghana. It's good to have you in the studio. And of course, you know her very well, Susan Edwamangwa, second vice chair of the CPP. Tonight she's not talking politics, but this is political.
Yes, it is.
It is very much political. All right. So if you look at what the World Economic Forum had said in 2014 and what they said last year, it just tells you that there's a long way. We have so much work to do. Susan, I'll start with you. What would you say is slowing down the process to achieve this parity?
Attitudes. Simple. Attitudes.
From who? The women, men,
from both,
everybody?
from everybody, from both sides. I mean, both men and women. I think that if the will was there to accelerate it instead of deceleration, I mean, we would do better. It's just attitudes. It's a matter of changing our mindset or our psyche, you know, towards parity and equity, you know, and then and moving with it, running with it. Okay. I think that you know, if you take attitudes, it's a difficult thing to change. We know that, you know, but we also know that if we put our minds to it, we can do it.
Right.
The same with, I mean, it's almost like technology. You know, when 20 years ago, did we think that we will have phones as slim as that, you know, and with the speed of light?
Yeah.
We didn't have the WhatsApp of this world and the Facebook and the extra things. But in the last 10 years, and our attitudes have changed to meet that. If we put our minds to it, we can run, maybe not as fast as technology is running, but we would get there where women will achieve parity.
Okay. I mean, once you mention attitudes, you immediately agree.
I agree.
But since we went to Beijing, and now it's been such a long time, and we keep talking about attitudinal change, but we are not making so much inroads.
Resting on the back of attitude is political will. Because you see, there's a way in which when you can't achieve something by just talking, you can achieve that same thing by legislating.
Right.
And we have done it in this country before. When we wanted to promote girl-child education, we did. And unfortunately, because of the attitude of the citizenry, it's not a very, what's the word, pleasant or very attractive thing for any government to actually stress on.
Why wouldn't they be attractive?
Because you see, they're supposed to respond to the people. And there are places that, even when, with all the advocacy and things going on, they have said that, okay, in your safe seat, put women, because then you're sure that they will win. People will be like, well, if we put a woman, we're going to lose that seat. That's just the mentality. Right. I mean, this morning, even us at this morning, somebody was like, what are the women talking about? Let them just stay in the kitchen and take care of the children. You know, these are the things that, you know, and sometimes when you hear this and you consider the work that you have done, you know, over the years, then you're saying, okay, is this even worth it? But then you look on the bright side and you say, okay, so it shows us that we still have a long way to go. Right. So, absolutely, attitude.
And now, talking about attitudes, I was listening to the UNESCO boss today, and he was talking about the same problem you're here talking about, attitudes. And he says, even in 2016, we're still printing textbooks showcasing women as carrying children.
Yeah.
Homemakers, and you see the men rather holding money or well-suited and going to work, and then the woman is at home, even in 2016 in our textbooks. So he thinks until we change all of that, the mindset completely changes, we may not go anywhere.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I would hope that GES has changed that. But when my daughter was in class 1, class 2, she came home with homework and says, what do girls do? And the answers are girls look after the baby, girls clean the room, girls, you know, cook. What do boys do? Boys wash the car. Boys, I mean, I was like, really? And then they came with the answers where, what did mummies do? What did daddies do? And mummies look after the children. Mummies do that. And one young boy, his homework, he wrote, mummies pay the school fees. He went to school and they marked him wrong. And the mother marched there and said, why did you mark my son wrong? He said, oh, these are not the answers that GES allows. She said, well, what? I pay his school fees. I'm a single mother. I pay his school fees. So when he says, mummies pay the school fees, he knows what he's talking about. We are trying to fit our children in a certain box. I mean, this is GES. Well, I shouldn't be surprised. I mean, GES have not shown to be... Anyway, so
that's another day.
That's another day. But this is the school curriculum that they are trying to force our children to learn, and trying to put women in a box and men in a box. And it's totally unacceptable. They should allow us to be creative and face the realities that women do things that men do now. And nobody is going to fix. I mean, men cook. Really, and if his father was the one cooking, if it was the answer that he was given, that should have been allowed, and stop trying to force us into certain roles. Right. And it is these roles that sort of constrain women, and do not allow women to come out and tap into their full potential. And we are all shortchanged for it. I think that both men and women don't realize that we are all shortchanged for it when one side of the equation is not allowed to tap their potential.
Okay.
But interestingly, it's not just in the schools, even in our homes. And that's why we keep encouraging even ourselves as women to help the children understand that we don't have girls' roles and boys' roles. Right. What do you need to sweep that a girl has that a boy doesn't have? So it's important for us, even as we bring up our children, to teach them that sometimes, the girl has to be in the kitchen with mommy, the boy can go and play football. Mm-hmm. No, you're building this boy up to be the problem that we are trying to solve. So it's important. I mean, individuals have the rules right from the home. And because, you see, if you teach your child at home that you don't have any limits. There's nothing you cannot achieve if you put your mind to it. When he goes to school and their teaching has something else, then she begins to question. So she'll come back home and say, but mommy, teacher said this, and it's for you to explain to her. And probably that's why we have the parent-teacher association meetings. And as a parent, it's important. You can get to the school and get them to do, the right, top up your training, because it's for both the school and the home. So if I'm teaching her one thing at home and she goes to school and she's being taught another thing, you're not helping. Right. So it's extremely important that we all get on board and understand. But where there's a problem is sometimes, even as individuals, as parents, we have not come to accept the fact that we should not put our girl children in a box. Allow them to live their full potential, because they have gifts that God has given to them to play their roles as citizens. It's extremely important, and we need to do that.
Okay, I still want to stay with the schools, because of course we've seen an increase in enrollments for the girl child over the years, and it's quite remarkable. But do you think that the schools themselves have done well to, the curriculum, the school curriculum, is it positioned in a way that tells the girls that whatever these boys can do, you can do? Forget about the homework you talk about, but generally in the school mindset, have these things really changed?
I don't think so. I taking the average Ghanaian school is not girl-friendly, okay?
How?
Let's take the bathrooms, for instance, and the washrooms. Any local school, LA, how many washrooms do they have? Even if they have any, So that means that the girl going to school, if she's in her period, she won't go because she doesn't have a good place to change, right. And she'd rather stay at home. So that means in a month she'll lose 5 days or 7 days. How is that a conducive environment for learning? It's not. Because you have not made it such that she is able to come all the days and feel comfortable and is able to move about. So already, we have certain obstacles or certain barriers that make us drop as we go on. Girl child enrollment, I think, at primary school is almost equal. But as they progress, you know, and she becomes more of a woman, the numbers decrease. And by the time you get to the university, the numbers have totally decreased. You know, because either along the line, you know, she's forced to go and marry, or she gets pregnant, etc., etc. And the numbers decrease as you go along. So you start off equally, you know, and then as it gets to the point that is mattering, then, you know, the girls drop out. So I think that the whole school environment, we need to look at it holistically. It's not just about the academics, but it's about the environment. You know, the other day, we heard the story of a little girl who was supposedly to have stolen 11 CDs, and a female teacher strips this girl naked in front of male teachers. Totally unacceptable behavior. Would a male teacher have done that in front of female teachers? You understand? Yeah. So it's a problem, and it's not just about the academics and what they're teaching them, but it's about the whole, you know, education. If I should put that, and the environment in which our girls find themselves.
Ajwa, would you agree?
To a large extent, yes. But I also want to add that they're making some strides. But let's not forget that the school is made up of individuals. So if as individuals we have not accepted that, you know, girls need to be given equal opportunities, they need to be, even in career choices, you know, the kind of, or even choosing subjects, you know. I mean, hey, you're a girl, you cannot do math. And these things are ingrained, and we kind of live it, you know. But we need to, from the get-go, help the children to understand. Not everybody will be good at everything, but don't stop yourself. Don't stop yourself because you're a girl, you know, that you cannot do certain things. Have a go at it. If you can't, it's okay. It's not every boy who excels in maths. No. Yeah. But so, yes, they're trying. They're making the effort. But if you ask, there's a long way to go. And what is harmful is if one teacher does it or one school does it and the other doesn't do it, then, you know, it's a problem. And again, that's why I said both the family and the school, the home and the school, because if you start at home and the school doesn't do it, you haven't gotten anywhere. If the school does it and it doesn't continue at home, then we have a problem. So, yeah.
Okay, I want to move away from the school and look at sector by sector. I'll start with boardrooms.
Oh, wow.
Women in the boardroom. I mean, I remember 2 years ago, the BBC, for instance, had a whole program on women in the boardroom, and the numbers were pretty scary. In some boardrooms, there is no woman at all. Do we have the same problem here in Ghana?
Oh, I'm sure we do. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me in the least that if we took 10 board rooms, you know, you would probably get 6 of them that are just all male, or they have the token female there, you know.
Yeah, I'll go for the token female. I mean, we're trying. Come on. I'll go for the token female.
You go for the token female. Yeah. You know, but you definitely have that. Yeah. I mean, the numbers are abysmal, you know. And it's also because there are certain, how would I put it, descriptions or not criteria, descriptions that the society uses for women, you know, who tend to be extremely successful in what they do, you know. So in a certain place, the woman will like, let me just chill, you know. And it's like, apart from the boardrooms, everywhere, you know, a man will be described as assertive, but a woman will be described as aggressive, you know, and then or arrogant. I mean, in Ghana, they say, oh, she's too known, you know, or they say, oh, Babema, you know, and all sorts of descriptions where she is just putting her view across. Because she's a woman, she may put it more strenuously because she needs to be heard, and it, you know, and then they say, oh, you know, then she goes again, you know. But it's because she wants to be heard. If she kept that quiet, still voice, she probably would be overlooked, and so she has to raise it an octave higher, you know. And then they say, ah, see her, you know, too known. She won't keep quiet and be there. And so a lot of these things keep women from the boardrooms, from the corporate ladder, etc., and they would rather take the back seat.
Which is quite discouraging, isn't it?
Extremely. And the corporate ladder is what keeps them away from the boardrooms, because you know that the boardrooms, you know, are filled with certain level of people. So if the women are not allowed to get to those levels, then automatically they are out. So that's why it's important that we do everything in our power to ensure that at least if a woman wants to use that opportunity, it exists. We are not saying that every woman will get to that place, but let's not put impediments in the way of women who are trying to get there. And it happens. I mean, we can deny all we can, all we want, but it happens. It does. I mean, as for the political parties, we are trying not to get too partisan
I'll
here.
come to the
but it exists. There are
politics
places
soon.
where, you know, they will actually discourage you within your own party as a woman, you know.
From contesting.
Well, yeah, and I'm sure that she should be able to tell.
We'll come to the politics.
We have the
She's
stories all the
neck deep
time.
in there,
Yeah.
so she will tell us
You know, so
the challenges.
It's important. We need to understand, you see, and that's where we look at, when we are thinking, oh, if she wins, then I lose. If she wins, you win, because you're all contributing to something. Right. And so until we get to that point where we are looking at it as a win-win situation, we're not going to make any headway.
Okay, and then there is the issue of quotas. I was listening to a global debate this afternoon on International Women's Day, and one woman was so upset that we are still asking for quotas for women. Is that something that bothers any of you, that we ask for quotas?
Not me.
Yeah,
Not
it doesn't
me.
bother you. It doesn't bother you?
No, it doesn't.
Why not?
Because you see, we need to be realistic. The playing field is not level. Until we get to that point where it is level, the only way we can make progress is quotas.
Because her argument is that if the woman is competent, why ask for a quota?
I don't think so. You see, it's a matter of treating unequals unequally. You know, let's say that the highest mark we can attain is 10, okay? And due to circumstances beyond our control, men are at 8, but we are at 6. But we all want to get to 10. Who deserves more support? The person who is at 6 than the person who is at 8. You get it? So, because we all want to achieve 10. And that's why it's a system to achieve a balance. It's not for forever, you know.
You don't see it as a defeatist? I mean, that
No,
was the
I
argument that
don't
it's quite
think
defeatist.
so. No, it's some people may look at it that way. But you see, we need to get a critical mass of women in a certain position. And when you get that critical mass of women in that position, they will pull each other up. At that time, you wouldn't need quotas anymore.
Do
No.
these women really pull each other
You see,
up?
you see, it's because we don't have that critical mass there. You have the 1, 2, 3 women. They may do some, they may not do at all because they are not gender sensitive or they are not socialized in that way. But when you have a critical mass, that's why it's a critical mass, you will get them pulling people up. You know, at that time, you will not need the quotas anymore, or you would not need the affirmative action anymore, or the positive discrimination anymore. It is to right a wrong. It is to level the playing field. Nobody's saying this forever. You know, it's to ensure that there is balance in the system and that everybody is bringing something to the table. It's been shown that boardrooms that have equitable numbers of women and men tend to be more successful than others that have a certain, because we look at things differently. Our socialization is different. And because of that, we look at things in a different, you know, I can sit with you and have a good conversation and, you know, and we probably would not have known each other before.
Right.
You know, and we would find a common ground and talk and see things in the same way. It's the same with men. They probably have never met each other, they'll meet each other, but they will see things in a certain way, different from the way we would see it. And that is the perspective that we all bring to the table. I mean, nobody is saying that we are the same. We are not the same. We are men and we are women. I mean, we are all different. Apples and oranges. The thing is that when we come together, we make a beautiful fruit salad or whatever. You know, you get it.
Cocktail.
you know. And it's important that that is there. Well, I mean, we are not going to look at things from the same point of view because we are socialized differently.
Okay, and she mentioned how, you know, when you get the critical mass up there, they will pull each other up. Do women really help each other?
Just like she said, it's because we don't have the critical mass. No. One woman gets there, she has to deal with 10 men to be able to stay there. Who is she going to be able to pull up? But if, for example, there were 6 men and 4 women, they first of all will help each other and then help others come up. It's extremely, if you put one person there and expect that that change will happen, it will not happen.
Okay.
That one person has to, I mean, work her way around to even stay where she is. So she's not going to have the energies to bring other people up.
Because I asked that question on the, you know, on the erroneous impression that has been created that women are their own enemies.
Yeah, I hate that statement.
It's rubbish, isn't it?
Yes.
Well, I mean, I don't know.
I mean, men are their own enemies too.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, but when I mean, man buys dog, hey, who cares? Dog buys man.
No,
Yeah.
it's a human thing. Human beings are their own enemies. You get it? You know, I mean, we do things against each other all the time. You know, I mean, women do things against women, men do things against men, men do things against women, women do things against men. It's human nature. So it's not peculiar to the female species at all. You know, men want to believe that, yes.
And they make women believe that.
Yeah. Thank you. But, I mean, it's a human thing. It's a human trait.
Right. You know,
we do it against each other.
In any battle, you choose a strategy. And I'm sure over the years, they have found that that strategy has worked because, you know, then you start thinking. So the least thing, first of all, you're looking out for that strategy to work or for that, what do you call it, saying to manifest itself. So you are alert, you're red alert. So even when the thing is happening genuinely, instead of trying to understand what the situation is, what is happening, and how it can be resolved, we conclude.
But a lot of men are changing, aren't they? I mean, we've had so many men now helping, advocating for women.
Yeah, and that's a good thing because there's no way we can achieve what we want to achieve without the men.
But is it possible, though, this global planet 50-50 the UN talks about? Is it possible?
Anything is possible. Another world is possible. That's what we're looking for. But we need to change our attitudes. We need to agree, we need to commit ourselves to ensuring that it happens. Because we can, yes, we can change things. There's so many things that we have changed. So why this one? We need to rearrange our thinking around women and the rights of women, the roles that women play. I mean, we keep saying that, yeah, they have a 51%, blah, blah, blah. Are we walking on one leg, you know? So it's important. We can achieve it. I mean, I don't know about the dates that we have set for ourselves. Like Ghana, we are saying that by 2030. I don't know. If we go at the pace that we are going, it will continue to be a mirage. But we need to step the game up.
How do we step up?
Okay, when all of us in this room agree that it's important that we look at that individual as a gift of God, as somebody who has skills and competencies to deliver on something, not as a woman.
Right.
Yeah, and education. The right kind of education, you know, the right kind of the kind of education that makes people put themselves in other people's shoes, think of the community, think of it as a win-win situation, you know, that kind of education. I'm an advocate for single-sex schools up to university. The other day, one was...
Why?
Somebody was laughing at my sister and said that she went to a single-sex university, which she did. She went to a single-sex university. And I said, I mean, I would love to have single-sex universities in Ghana here. Because for me, it allows, especially the girl child, to come onto her own. And then when she is confident of herself and who she is, when you throw her out there, she's like, really, I know who I am, what I stand for, and what I want to do. You find that sometimes, it's not a general rule, but you find that a lot of the girls who go to mixed schools tend to take back roles because, well, if she's too clever, the boys would say she's a witch. If she's, you know, too boisterous, they'll say, she's a tomboy, etc., etc. But if you're in a girls' school, you want to be the cleverest. If you're a tomboy, you get all the other girls to come around you and help and ask you to do things, etc. You know, and you come onto your own. And so there really is a reason for single-sex schools, and even up to the university level, you know, where you can allow the girl to come onto her own and throw her out there, and she says, I know who I am, and I'm a gift to this world, and I make sure that's...
Single-sex university.
Interestingly, this is one time I disagree with you.
I
disagree.
You disagree on something.
I disagree.
Yeah.
And this is why I disagree.
Okay.
That girl child from that school is going to go out into the world. There's no single-sex world, though. She's going to go out into meeting the boys that we have kept them away from. So why won't she learn it right from the get-go? What's important is for us to empower the girl child right from the get-go, not to be intimidated by a boy child. That's what.
You say, I have a counter-argument to that.
I like this.
No, I have a counter-argument to that.
Susan,
I have a counter-argument to it. Look, yeah, my sister knows that her child will work, okay? Her child will eventually go to the workplace. Yeah. Will she throw her 10-year-old say, look, because when you are 20, you go and work. Yeah, and so right now, go and work.
No.
Yes, so that you get used to the work environment. You understand? You nurture that child. You nurture that child, so that child is ready. Before you throw the child out there. So you cannot say that because my child is going to work, let's say I work at 10 years.
My 10-year-old daughter is not going to meet a 20-year-old, what do you call it, student in her class. People in her
You'll
class.
be surprised.
She's going to meet her age mates, and she's going to learn to grow up, to live in that kind of environment. So, Susan,
No. I mean, I stick to my single-sex school.
That's okay.
Okay.
That's okay.
So single-sex school, no single-sex school. So you think, even for secondary school?
Well, even for secondary schools, honestly.
It should be mixed.
It should. I mean, I went to a mixed school. I'm very proud of it. And it helped me a lot. You know, I'm assertive. I don't know if somebody...
Well, I mean, hey.
Did you go to a single school?
I did. I went to a single-sex school.
Okay.
Yes, I went to a single-sex school. And if the university had been available, I would have done the same. I tell you straight up.
You picked up your
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Anyway, I hope the two of you have pledged, though, because if you haven't, you need to go to the International Women's Day.com/pledge parity and pledge. There are a number of things there. I pledged 4 days ago, and I was so happy after pledging. It was as if I was getting a gift, but I was so happy that I had pledged. I shared it on social media. So if you haven't, well, there's more time for you to pledge. Now, let's talk about politics. Susan, the numbers in Parliament are still very much discouraging, and we've had a number of reasons why we're not getting more women in Parliament. You look at Rwanda, and it's so enviable how they have so many women in their Parliament, and you compare it to our Parliament here. It's
maybe
nothing.
we need a war.
Maybe.
But you also realize that their president is very progressive.
Yeah,
and the country as a whole is extremely
very progressive.
You understand?
Yeah.
It's not by accident that you have that many women there and the country is moving at the pace that it is moving. Leadership is important, and it's not just Kagame who is the leader, but it is the whole. You understand? So definitely, you cannot. Yes, we will give the praise.
It's not safe to say that genocide was a blessing, but
no,
if you look at how they're moving, you're just
no.
wondering.
But we've had genocide in other places, and it has
and
not.
They're still stuck in their ways.
Yeah, you know. So it's a change in attitude where it says that look, we may have had this unfortunate past, but everybody is important. It doesn't matter the sex that you are. You have something to contribute. Because they could still have said that even with the genocide, they still want a male-dominated society or a male-dominated parliament. But that didn't happen, you know. And so it's a matter of realizing that everybody has something to contribute. And that if everybody is contributing their quota, we will progress. And unfortunately, in our politics, we are yet to see that. You know, we say a lot of it. I cannot talk about my personal experiences because I belong to a tradition where women are encouraged and women have the same opportunities as men. I mean, I can tell you that in my party, you know, Greater Accra has had women chairmen. I was the chairman of the Greater Accra region. Before that, there was another woman in Greater Accra also. I mean, none of the other parties can boast of that. Women chairmen, etc., etc. They don't have that kind of enviable reputation and record.
Give Susan the flute.
She blows it all the way.
So I don't. But it is even in a party such as mine, you get subtle references to like the woman, etc., etc., etc. And you see it in other parties.
Did you vote for Samia?
Oh, what kind of question is that?
Vote is a secret.
Yes, it's a secret ballot.
Just asking.
And she got through there, right?
She actually put Anyway, go on.
So, I mean, you can see it in the other parties where, it's a total boys' club. And even when they try to do something about it, there's a lot of outrage, etc.
Tried last year.
They did. I guess that you may do a good thing, but if the timing is wrong and the education hasn't gone down properly, there'll be the backlash. And I guess that is what happened, because if immediately after their first the elections, the 2012 elections, before people could actually say they want to be parliamentary candidates, they had brought it up, and it would have given time, and then, people would have known that in this constituency, there's no point contesting because the women are going to take it anyways, But to come, 3 years down the line, when some men had actually gone out to campaign and spend money, obviously you were going to get that kind of uproar. So you may do a good thing, and we need to do good things, but we need to time the good things so that they are properly accepted. And in politics, it's a very rough terrain, and women would get discouragement from their families, etc., and say that, look, that terrain is rough. I don't want you to go on air, and people say all sorts of things about you, and so you get active discouragement, from families and other people that don't put yourself out there because you get the backlash. And so it's important that we build women's confidence to say, the backlash is part of the game. You get a tough skin, you move on, because women are tough, and so we should be able to. We should be able to take it. And another thing is the experience. You see, if you have two people, 25-year-olds, they finish university, a male and a female. Now the male child goes, oh, I like CPP, so he goes immediately and starts to do politics. The female, she's finished 25. They're like, hey, now wara, that kind of thing. And then they are forcing her to get married. So she acquiesces and she gets married. Then she has a first child and 3 children. The children are small, and politics involves a lot of, going here, there, focus. So it takes up a lot of your time. She's not going to leave those little children at home and go gallivanting.
Were you confronted by that challenge?
I was not, because I entered into politics late when my children were quite grown. Okay. And that's what I'm coming to. So by the time her children are grown, she's already in her late 30s or 40s. By then, the man has 10 years, 15 years experience on her. You see? So you find out that a lot of the politicians that are there, women politicians, tended to be much older than the younger ones. Whereas you find young men, 25, 30, they want to be presidents, etc. They're just waiting to hit the 40 mark line and move on. And women are now entering politics in their 40s, you see. And he has experience, and experience is important in politics. People want to have an experienced leader, somebody who knows the terrain. And so obviously they tend to choose the male person than the female who has just come and is now learning the ropes. And it's that. We talk about the ambition gap. I mean, I'm hard-pressed to say that women are less ambitious than men. I mean, that's a tough one for me to say, even though they talk about the ambition gap. I would think it's a belonging gap, because it's a boys' club. It's the boys. We are going, and after we sit there, we are drinking, and after you're drinking to talk the politics, and we are going home at 10, 11, or even 1 a.m. I mean, hey, are you going?
Nobody's questioning that.
Nobody's questioning that. I mean, he's telling his wife that, Charlie, is to make sure that we bring the bacon home.
But the woman will not dare.
But the woman will not there because her husband was like, hey, about worry for really? Ooh, yeah, that one thing to say, Brie. If you are not in my house by this time, Charlie, you can't meet your things outside. You get it. So she cannot stay to do the 1 a.m. and all the intrigues that are going on. She cannot partake in it. She has to go home, you know. And that makes it difficult because they'll say that, but when you're sleeping beside your husband. And, you know, so it's tough for women, you know, to go out there and give politics the focus and aspire for those high offices as much as men, not because they are less ambitious, but because they are not allowed to belong to that boys' club.
Okay. Ajua, from the point of view of the Women's Manifesto Coalition of Ghana, would you say that as we go into this election, we have more female parliamentary candidates compared to 2012?
I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure about that. Because you saw the primaries the way it was going.
Yeah.
No, I'm not sure about that.
So it's still discouraging.
Hopefully we have more women in the safe seats. More of the safe seats. Not all of the safe seats. So it's likely that, you know, once it's a safe seat, you know that if a woman is in there, then they're going to win. But sometimes it's not even the women who have put themselves up. Women put themselves up, and then they are so maligned that, I mean, a family member says, why are you putting the whole family's name in such whatever? Right. You know, sometimes your husband is like, you know what, maybe it's good that you tried. Just stay away. Let's just keep a low profile, that kind of thing. So it's important that every step of the way we encourage the women. And another thing I hear people tell, especially me all the time, is like, all these advocates you're talking about, women should be there, what are you doing? I mean, and I keep saying that I'm coming, I'm building myself up. Because I know that it's a tough game, and you need to be tough to play the game. So you need to build yourself up. You can't get up one day and decide that I want to do politics. You get one knock and you're out. But you build yourself up and you get there. So we need everybody's support. We really do. And as for, I don't know if I can say it enough, let's disabuse our minds of the fact that these women just want to take over. These women just want to contribute. Give them opportunity to contribute. Because until you have given them the opportunities and they have failed, you can't say they cannot do it.
Now, you both talked about the name calling. Would it boil down to the kind of politics we practice in Ghana, in Africa, some parts of Africa? I mean, I think the women in Nigeria face the same problems as the women in Ghana do. So would it come down to the politics? Because I don't think Hillary Clinton has been called any name because of her gender. Everyone is attacking what she did with her emails, and not because she's a woman, and not because she's not spending time with her husband.
I would say that because she's a woman is a subtle reason. Because I'm sure there are other males who did things with their emails that nobody's talking about. But you see, there's always something we need to find against the woman. There's always a tool, there's always a weapon we need to bring out so that our story or our battle will be good. And so that's where I think it is. I mean, of course, it's the way we play our politics in Ghana. I mean, somebody was like, so, okay, we are over 51%. So if all the women will give their votes to one political party, then we can be sure. And I'm like, that is never going to happen.
Yeah.
Because it's partisan politics, by all means, a group of women will belong to a certain party. And no matter what, even if it's a woman who is standing up for president, those group of people, because of the way they understand their ideologies, it's not going to happen. But if we encourage, as political parties, if we encourage our women to aspire to those roles, make sure that we don't put impediments in there. We're like, when we have political meetings, some of these meetings are late in the night. And like Susan said, I mean, you are there, you get a call. 2, 3 calls, and you have to go packing, So it's important that we look at some of the structures that we have put in place, that we are building our systems on, and make sure that they are helpful to women's participation.
Okay.
I mean, let me chip in. The Women's Manifesto for Ghana, it was a document that, you know, we were happy that we had put together. Political parties adopted some of those demands. And where's the political will to implement them?
But the thing about Hillary, look, America, before they even got the women to start voting, you should have seen how the women suffered to get there.
Yeah.
And presently, I mean, if you look at the number of women in the Senate, you know, compared to, it's poor.
Yeah.
And you know, up to now, they don't have equal rights for women and men. I mean, in certain places in America, the same job, a woman is paid 70 to the dollar, you know, compared to a man. You know, so let's say that the man is a pharmacist, the woman is a pharmacist, they're paying him $1 an hour, they probably pay her 70 cents an hour to this day.
Yeah.
So it's subtle, it's there.
Very
It's there because she's a woman. It's not the in-your-face kind of thing that you may get here, you know. But it's very subtle, and but it is there because she's a woman.
Okay, let me take some messages here, and of course, if you're watching the show, I would like you to tell us what you have done today. If you've pledged, well, I'll be happy to know what exactly you pledged for, but of course, it has to be for parity. And also, I'll contribute to the show using the hashtag State of Affairs, and I'll quickly take some messages that you have been posting here. Manaf says, I doubt there is any public company with no woman as a board member, honestly. Okay. Welby is reacting to what Susan said earlier, that out of the random, take 10 boardrooms. Don't be surprised to find any woman on any of them, or don't be surprised to not find any woman, rather. And Welby says that true. That the men will still dominate, but the women ratio is not 0. DJ Scratch says, women should start proposing marriages to men and paying groom prices. What about that? Very cheeky of you. All right, Sultan Meza says, women will always be women. Gender equality mission is impossible. That's a big shame on you, Sultan. Abdullah Muhammad says, do you remember a young man said, well, I think this has nothing to do with our show. Can we talk about these girls that are put in music videos? They do not represent the true woman. I mean, if you've seen the women gyrating in videos, and sometimes it can be quite disheartening when you see, you wonder how much they are paid really to do that. But anyway, it's also entertainment. Chronic Dope says, ladies, let's all tune into State of Affairs tonight. They're talking about us. Right. What avenues are currently available for young women who graduate from school? Corporate Ghana should find a quota for these women. You agree?
In some ways, I mean, they should give them equal opportunities. I think that you'd find that the subtle discrimination will be in terms of, oh, she's young, she's about to get married, she'll get pregnant, etc., etc., etc. So they would prefer to take a male instead. But they should give the young women opportunities.
I was reading an article last week, I think it was in the Washington Post, and one lady was actually advocating for a leave period for women when they're menstruating. She says because the 4 days when a woman is menstruating, experiencing cramps, she can't go home because she knows she has to work, and she's not sick, really. But she thinks it's something that should be advocated. Would you agree that 4 days out of the month, a woman should be given...
I would rather we consider it as sick than, you know. I mean, you're saying that you can take a sick leave. Anybody takes a sick leave. So you can take it when you need it. It's not every woman who needs it. There are women who, you know, do perfectly well, you know, during those periods. But I think it should be treated on an individual basis.
Okay.
And then they should be allowed to work from home. So it's not that...
I mean, we've advanced.
Yes, we've advanced. I mean, people
we're talking global now, or we're talking local. Nobody's going to allow you to work at home.
No, but I mean, but if we were doing some of our work at home, we probably will not get the kind of traffic that we have. I mean, in this country, phone calls and things don't seem to work. You call the person, oh, I'll do it. But if you don't go there physically. Sometimes it doesn't get done. But we should allow some of these things to work, where a phone call followed by an email, etc., etc., is works, so that people, if her job doesn't necessitate she coming into the office, but she can have equal productivity from the house, why not? It puts less cars on the road and less stress for those on the road.
Jamila Al-Hassan says the biggest problem facing women's development in this country is the kind of presidents we vote for. President Mahama, when he was a candidate, said a lot about what he was going to do for women, yet he's done nothing. And I doubt that Akufo-Addo would do anything for women if he's voted for. Well, I'm not sure about that one. I cannot respond.
Well,
we
don't know.
We don't know. But for President Mahama, would you say he's done well for women?
I cannot say he's done well. I'll be hard pressed. He's done something, but not well.
What were you expecting him to do? I mean, some key, positions in this country are occupied by women.
Yes, definitely.
Have we achieved 40%?
No, we haven't. And
that was actually in his manifesto. It was one of the campaign promises.
Yeah,
it was one
2008.
Yeah, that's true.
So we cannot say he's done well. If he was not able to keep up to his own promises or the promises of his party, you would not say he's done well. But definitely, I mean, you would not write it off altogether, the little that he's done.
Yeah, no, he's made strides, but there's still a lot more to do, that's for sure.
Okay.
And you see, something that's why I keep saying political will, because maybe he as an individual would like to do it, but he has a team that he's working with, so you need everybody's support, and it's extremely important.
Okay.
And as for that, we can't find the women. I hope I don't hear it ever again.
We can't find the women. But if they can't find the women,
they can find.
They can find the women.
Okay.
Maybe they don't
the
like
women are there.
Maybe they don't like the colors, but the women are there. The colors.
The colors of the women.
They're probably, but
we have all the colors of the women.
They're looking for the lighties, and the lighties are not available. They're looking for the dark ones, and the dark ones are not available.
No, but the thing is, okay, she not being a politician, she.
Oh, you think I'm not a?
So she doesn't understand
that.
She's a
politician.
I'm not an active politician.
But you see, but in political parties, okay, in political parties, loyalty is key, and also in terms of who was in the trenches with you. So if you can't find the woman with your color, you have to go outside your color.
I know that's what you
and they find that difficult.
But
otherwise they're there.
In their own camps, I'm telling you, the women are there. I mean, you don't always have them fully baked, but you can pick them up. You see, because that's the issue. That's the problem we have. We start, and all we want the women to do is to dance around on the platforms and do the campaign, the rallies and stuff like that. But if we start building them up, if we actually invest in their capacity, building their capacities, we will get them when we need them. And they are there. There are women who are willing, in every party, there are women who are willing to do the work. Some may not have achieved all the qualities or the qualifications, but you can always invest in these people and get them to work.
Okay.
Definitely. Mentoring programs within political parties are important. In the East African countries, in Malawi, they do it.
Do you have that in Ghana? Mentoring program, the CPP?
Not official.
Not
official.
Individuals
will pick people.
But, and in Malawi, for instance, the parties, they have official mentoring programs for women, to ensure that they bring up women, But our political parties themselves here tend to be electoral machines instead of democracy schools and teaching and bringing up leadership. We tend to just be, we're doing the politics 4 years trying to win power instead of being democracy schools, and that is the general structure that is not also helpful, for
that goes same for the youth, We don't help the youth to achieve or attain the skills that they need to be able to participate effectively. We just use them, and then when we are forced to put them in positions, we come back to say they cannot deliver. But we need to, everybody needs training, and everybody is trainable. I don't believe that, this person, everybody needs training, everybody is trainable.
Okay, 2 more messages before we take a break. Duncan Gabla says, for government to be representative of society, women should play an important role in national politics. Popsicle is actually wondering why it's taking women so long to get their minds disabused that they can do whatever men can do as well.
I know why.
You know?
Because the men are not helping them.
Okay, Brenda, your surname is quite difficult to pronounce, but I hope you know I'm talking about you. Brenda says that if you dare try to go into politics at 25, you'll be told that you will not find a man to marry you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I agree.
You do? Okay, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll still be talking about the International Women's Day. And if you're a woman out there and you've tried to take the bull by the horn and, well, you were stopped along the way, I want to know what the obstacle was. And if you've also got some questions for our two ladies here, I'll be too happy to pose your questions to them. We'll be right back. This is State of Affairs on GH1 TV. Right, you are welcome back to the show. We are still discussing International Women's Day, and if you haven't pledged as yet, well, you may want to do so. I'll just get you the address again. It is, here we go, if you can just give, okay, internationalwomen'sday.com/pledge parity. You should pledge. Go on that site and pledge today. There's so many things happening in the country. Are you going to be at the British High Commissioner's residence tomorrow? I think I saw your name somewhere. Wasn't you? Okay, wasn't you? I'm sorry. I thought it was you. There's an event going on there tomorrow as well for International Women's Day. But a few more messages here before we go. This one is coming from Trisha Wood, who says that, well, I think it's important that we talk about International Women's Day on days like this one. My biggest problem is that women themselves discourage their daughters from going into politics and other things because they are afraid their families will be tapped. True.
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 Very true.
True. Unfortunately, true.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But fathers also discourage their daughters from going.
Yeah, but you would think the women would rather give the full support because they understand.
They understand,
the problem
but you know, you try to protect your child as much as possible. You know, so you would look at your child's psyche and say, you may not be able to take this,
right.
So, you know. But, I mean, if your mother thinks you can take it, she'll push you. Oh, yes.
Okay.
And she knows you can give as good as you get, she'll say, go for it.
And we shouldn't assume every woman understands. We shouldn't assume every woman understands. Women are emotional, and they're protective of their children.
Because you still find women who believe that some women should be doing what women must be doing.
Absolutely. Sure. Absolutely. I mean, and that's always a rude shock, a rude awakening, but it's the reality. And that's why, probably that's why we haven't gone as far as we would have wanted to. But it's a process. It's a change of attitude, people's understanding. We need to, and when we started, you know, that we were just doing it as women ourselves. Then we saw the need to bring men on board. Initially, we thought that, okay, once a woman is there, we are okay. And we had a rude shock in this country where we had a woman, and I mean, hey, things was like, over my dead body, is some certain things going to happen. So just because there's a woman in that position does not mean that that gender, whatever you're looking for, is going to happen. But gradually, we're getting to where more and more women are understanding the need for gender parity, even as men are understanding the need. So we need to just continue with the efforts. It's important.
Okay. Has the creation of the gender ministry helped at all?
The jury is out on that one. Maybe in some ways, yes. I'll be hard-pressed to say, you know...
Yes or no?
Yes.
Well, but the question is in some way, right? So yes, in some way it has. I mean, now you have a machinery that actually looks at, because we keep saying that a woman can address a woman's concerns better. So that ministry should be able to address the concerns better. The flip side, though, is the resources allocated to that ministry completely paralyzes that machinery. So, and again, it's a political thing. I mean, we would rather give the high ones to the security, whatever, because this one is not really a threat. But honestly, gender issues should be seen as a threat. seriously to security, to everything, because the longer we delay achieving these things, the further away we move from development.
But, and I would think, you know, the thing is sometimes when you have the ministry, then people think all the problems are solved. Oh, but you have the ministry. Send this to the ministry. Send this to the ministry. You know, and then the ministry may be bogged down with all sorts of things, rendering them also, you know, ineffective, because then they're firefighting everything. You know, everything. They say, oh, send it here and send it here. And so sometimes, for me, I you know, when you have the ministry and the things are not very clear cut, that, you know, this is our target, A, B, C, D, nothing else, till we get this before we move to C, D, E, F, you know, people throw all the supposedly women issues, social protection issues at it, and such that, you know, then they're doing everything and end up not doing anything properly. So, you know,
No, but Susan, you also agree that this gender mainstreaming efforts have been led by the ministry. If we didn't have the ministry, all these other efforts won't be there. So throwing everything at the ministry now opens up the discussion. Okay, the ministry cannot handle everything at that ministry. So now the other ministries should have those, what do you call it, gender machineries that look at the ministry itself. And if we're throwing all the issues at them and and also throwing all the resources at them to do the work, I'm sure that would have made headway. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the human resources, financial, everything, you know. But the issues are huge. The issues are huge. Okay. And so we need to look at those things.
Okay. Now, as I was going through the comments, I saw one that I decided to ignore. But, you know, it just got me thinking that somebody was expressing his disappointment with the former transport minister, Jifa Ativo, saying that if you're a woman, you're not supposed to be corrupt. I don't think anybody has said she's a corrupt woman.
No.
Yeah, but I get the point he's trying to make, because we're told that once you put a woman there, everything is fine, because women, they are very assertive, she'll keep her eye on the ground. So I think he's expressing his disappointment, but not in a very good way. But I don't know if you get the point he's trying to make. But at the end of the day, she's a human being. And
yes,
we're all prone
and she
to
took
mistakes.
responsibility for...
Exactly. How many of the men have taken responsibility for some of the things that have happened in their ministry?
For the mistake that was made by her ministry. What else?
It doesn't correct the mistake, does it?
No, it doesn't. But it shows a certain kind of honorableness. Is that, if that's the way I should put it.
I don't think that, I mean, she is correcting the mistake. The mistake is to be corrected by the attorney generals, which they are trying to do. But she's saying that, look, I'm the leader.
It was under my watch.
You know, and just like they will take praise for the work that other people do, she's saying, I'm the leader. Under my watch, this has happened. So I'm just putting myself, you know, taking myself off. Let somebody try. But you see...
So it was honorable.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, people have, you know, said all kinds of things. Maybe she was forced to do it. I really don't care. She did it.
We don't know that.
We don't know that.
What we know is that she said, I'm resigning, I'm taking myself away from this. This happened under my watch. It should not have happened.
And we don't find too many men doing that in
this
country.
Too many. We don't find any that we mentioned.
Well, Dr. Sipayanki resigned, remember?
Okay.
Oh, okay. Well, that's
yeah. But
I forgot that one.
Okay.
This is why I say shame on both of
you. Well, shame on us, right, Susan? Shame on us.
Yeah, but really and truly, it's a very good point you're making. That, I mean, how many men in her position would have done what she did? I found it very honorable. When I heard she had resigned, I said, oh, finally, somebody's accepting responsibility for something that didn't go
so, but you know, that this brochure thingy, somebody accepts responsibility for it and says that, look, they should have ensured that whatever product was out there was befitting of Ghanaians and our
You saw the backlash that came, and even the protest from the ISD staff, that they were not responsible for that brochure.
And I had a very female voice saying that we're not taking this, we're not taking this.
The lady, I think I saw it on Facebook. Yeah, she was quite. Anyway, it takes me to another issue that I wanted to raise: sexism in our society. Okay, I'll start with you without look on your face. I'd want to start with you.
Let's start with Susan.
No, I mean, you know something? I think men make certain remarks unconsciously. And at one time, you know, we were late to a program. And the women's organizer kept calling that we are late to the program, we're late to the program. So where are you, where are you, where are you? And we're on this very bad road to Odan, you know, so we're like, we're on the road, we're coming, we're not trying. And then the organizer that was with me says, but you are a woman, try and get them to calm down. I was like, really? I mean, did you have to say that? That's an extremely sexist remark. And he didn't think so. He thought, oh, but I mean, I said, no, if you had said, oh, she's an organizer, you should get them to, you know, but don't say you are a woman, get them to calm down. And for him, it was a very innocuous remark. I mean, he thought, okay, you know, he says, oh, because no women will know how to calm down people and they calm down babies and things. I'm not, please, no. I mean, but we have a lot of sexism in our society. And men do it, or even women do it unconsciously. You know, they make these sexist remarks that, you know, what has a woman got to do with calming people down? Really? And telling people that they should, you know, have patience and wait. It has nothing to do with the sexist. It's more to do with ability of the person than the sex of the person, you know. And so you get a lot of those sexist remarks, you know, or, oh, we want some tea. Hey, where are the women? Really? Are we the tea ladies?
Tea bearers. No, I'm sure you saw the expression on my face because it's so deep. And I don't know if I agree that we do it unconsciously, but it's more like out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. We have done it so much that, and sometimes when men make those statements, they think it's a compliment.
Yeah, because I was coming to that. Because
they think it's a compliment.
There's a big difference between a compliment and a statement that is laced with so much.
So when you don't see it, and that's why I had that facial expression. When you don't see it as a compliment, it's like, duh, where are you from?
Yeah.
But please, it's not a compliment.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's
not the way I want to be complimented.
2 weeks ago, I walked into an office and a well-dressed lady just walked in to see somebody in the office, and the man just passed a comment, and I was so incensed. The comment was, oh, you're looking very nice, your backside especially. And I thought it was such a stupid comment to pass. But he didn't see anything wrong with that.
He probably thought it was a compliment.
Yeah.
And
so such a stupid comment to pass to any woman.
So why didn't he just end it, or you look very nice?
Yeah, especially your backside. I was shocked. Anyway, but it just goes, because people really do not know. And this lady I'm talking about really didn't see anything wrong with what the man said, because she thought she was being admired. You know, sometimes the men really don't know. Would it come down
sometimes the men don't know, and sometimes the women don't even realize that, because the women's organizer, she didn't take offense at it. I was the one sitting behind and took offense at it. You know.
Like in my situation, who are you to get angry? It wasn't even for you. Anyway.
It wasn't for me, and it was then that I took the opportunity to school him that there are certain capabilities that cut across sexes. And so when you say, do this because you're a woman, etc., it's a sexist remark, and it's not good for you to make such remarks. It was a point for education,
right,
and for the women's organizer, because she also didn't take offense at that remark. You know, she just thought it was one of those things.
Normal.
And so, because a lot of us don't really recognize it,
we're accepting of it.
We're accepting of it, and it goes on and on and on and on. You know.
Right. Okay, let's take a break here. Not a commercial break, though. It's a countdown to the elections, and Ben Epson has been doing this countdown on Star FM and also on GH1 TV. You can catch it with Soa Intl Hammond and Kafu Day in the morning. And then if you miss it, of course, you tune into State of Affairs with me, and you can get that countdown. So Ben Epson is next now.
Welcome. I hope yesterday you measured the holiday, because if you chill too much, today you are at work. say that when the crocodile tell you that they will be sick, you have to believe it because they are all under the water. So when a suspended party chairman comes out and tells you that he belongs to the Kufuor faction, it puts to rest all those who've been saying that there are no factions in the party. Factions itself are not bad. The MPP has 2 factions, Kufuor faction, Akufo-Addo faction. The NDC has 3, Mo's faction, Mahama faction, Rawlings faction. But when you deny their existence, you put your own sand in Gary. That is it. But Polafoko's statements, some of them were very instructive. For example, a suspended chairman, that doesn't mean he's not a member of the party anymore. For him to say that he cannot say outright that Nana Akufo-Addo will win the elections tells you something. I mean, some of the reactions from, I have some very good friends who are in MPP whose heart they are aching. Omakuma ete, Bra Kojo Peter, Okahu, Bra Mahama, Onyadjo Mahama, no so kahu. Omakuma ete, their heart is bleeding. That those who belong to Kufuor faction should spare them the bloodshed. But they too, you have to be careful. Because what is playing out now reminds me of in the run-up to 2004. When MP was going for a runoff, the NDC was trying to win the elections, and there was so much division in NDC. The MPP, if you don't know somebody who is dead, how the person looks like, look at somebody who's asleep. Cast your mind back to 2004 and see how NDC suffered the consequences of division. Bragojo, are you watching me? To be fair to those who may not necessarily like Polafoko or not the Kufuor faction, they are provoking the others. Yes, they are provoking them because when you make such comments, that would have directed it. I mean, for the whole week, the Polafoko thing threw a lot of things out. You say you belong to Kufuor faction, you put ex-President Kufuor in a corner because it implies something. Viewers, remember that when the April date came for the election of the national executives, everybody knew that of the 11 executives who were elected, 3 belonged to the Kufuor faction, 8 belonged to the Akufo-Addo faction. Why is it that all those who've been suspended belong to the Kufuor faction? The 3 that everybody knew who were elected were Chairman Polafoko, Second Vice Chairman Krab, General Secretary Community Japan. All the 3 have been suspended. I don't think that the suspension spree targeted the Kufuor expansion, the Kufuor faction at all. You know, Ejahamon says that, why is it that only the 3 of you perceive the Kufuor faction have been suspended? It means that there is something you are doing. The Council of Elders of the MPP, this is the time for you to get up and try and solve the issues. You should be perhaps, as one person said, you shouldn't be only interested in filing petitions for the suspension of the Kufuor faction members. Try and put them together, because come November 9, when the results are announced, ambulances may be needed for some of the MPP supporters.
And remember, you can always catch that countdown on State of Affairs just around this time, or in the morning with Soa and Kafui Day on State, on GH Today in the morning. I was a State of Affairs. Anyway, so we have a few minutes to wrap up. I mean, on a day like this, we talk. We've been talking since morning about the International Women's Day and the need for gender equality. After today, we may not completely forget about the role of women, but it's not a priority anymore in our discussions. And I'm the first person to say that I think I'm the culprit, because until it's International Women's Day, I'll probably not find a reason to discuss women's issues, which is a big shame, really. How do we keep the conversation going?
You have pledged parity.
I have.
And the only way you can ensure that it happens is to keep talking about it. Because if we don't keep talking about it and talking about it and talking about it and talking about it, the people who need to hear us will not hear us and we will not achieve it. So it's important. I mean, and it's good that, you know, we dedicate a day, but the day is just to give it the highlights and all those things. Every day of our lives, we need to do that. It's extremely important.
Susan?
Which of the options did you choose?
I think I did all.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, assigning to different accounts. And
yeah.
Okay. Because
did
I
all.
chose to change conscious
Conscious
and
and
unconscious
unconscious
bias.
bias, yeah.
You know, and talking is, you know, you change minds. You know, conversations bring about a meeting of minds and change. And so it's important that we continue the talking and continue the conversation, and people will change their minds, and then people will begin to have a different mindset. And when they do the experiment of parity, of equity, and see that it is also to their benefit, then of course we will be moving ahead. So we need to continue to change the conscious and unconscious biases that we face in society, and we should talk more about it.
Okay, and before we go to my very last question, Brony Akosia says most boards that have one token female only, okay, most boards
That
have that one token female only to prevent discrimination allegations. Answer.
True.
Which is true.
True.
Very, very true.
Yeah.
Anyway, Frenzy is Rev says to celebrate International Women's Day, a young woman should understand there is more to being a woman than sex tapes and nude pictures. Oh boy. Okay, new boy Phil Corte says, in my case, women should be given the chance to exhibit whatever they can. Besides, we are both unique with great ideas. There's another one. Most complicated about the subject of women in politics is maintaining the tedious balance between our culture and beliefs.
Definitely.
You agree?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, okay. Women are running domestic errands in the office. I faced that during my national service, and they should be preparing tea for bosses. Okay, the need for them to be preparing tea for their bosses should be discouraged.
Definitely. I mean, you know, but if it's, I mean, if it's part of their duties, because they have men who are secretaries and they do the tea for their bosses. Okay, so if it's part of their duties, it should not be seen as women's work. As it's just part of your general job description. That's okay. But if you're doing it because it's women's work, I mean, in the workplace, they shouldn't have anything like women's work and men's work, etc., etc., etc. It should be, this is the job. It doesn't matter the sex that is put there. The job should be executed properly.
All right. There's one here who says that there's still a lot of women. There's still a lot women have to overcome, even in our society, with regards to their pride.
Their what?
Pride.
I don't know what he's talking.
Bride price?
Pride.
Oh, pride.
Yeah. Well, there's nothing wrong with being very proud of yourself. A bit of pride in there. I mean, it just gets used to.
Well, that's another thing. You see, we have brought ourselves down so much. We don't have a lot of self-esteem as people. And so anybody who shows confidence of themselves and is too proud, you know. But sometimes self-confidence is important.
It's very important.
Self-esteem is important. And self-esteem, if you have good self-esteem and self-confidence, you don't take crap. Really. I mean, you don't suffer fools gladly. And if you're like that and you don't suffer fools gladly, people think that, she's something, you know.
Yeah.
No, but there's something that I find, and this is, I think is a lot of us women suffer that. We are really hard on ourselves. We are really, really, really hard
Because
on
we
ourselves.
want to prove a point.
Yes.
No?
But I think that attitude should also start changing.
Okay.
Okay? Build your confidence. Work at what you want to work at. Deliver when you want to deliver or when you have to deliver. And when you have achieved, be proud of it. You know, because there are men who, the little thing, it's, you know, highlighted, so, and then we were, oh, okay, it's okay. We actually need to celebrate our achievements as women, because every day we make a stride. Every day we achieve something. We need to celebrate those achievements, celebrate ourselves as women, not just on International Women's Day, but every day, and also encourage ourselves to keep pushing forward. Because we're asking for opportunities, we're asking for access, but if the door is open, nobody is going to push you through that door.
Right.
You need to walk through that door. So when we ask for the doors to be open, let's walk through those doors, because nobody's going to push.
All right, many thanks, Susan Eduamankwa, second vice chair for the CPP. Always a pleasure talking to you, Susan. And also Ajo Bame, she's the deputy convener for the Women's Manifesto Coalition of Ghana. Thank you so much. I mean, yesterday we were wondering if you would even pick up our calls, but then you answered. Yeah, because why? It was quite a short notice.
It's okay. This is for women.
Yeah. Thank you
This is for women.
for making the time this evening, both of you. I have to say a big thank you to Eye Candy in East Legon for this outfit, this beautiful outfit I've got on, and also to Ella Keddy for the accessory, the neck piece Susan so wants to take away. Thank you so much to my stylist, Akosia V of Violet Bannerman. And we'll have a very interesting discussion tomorrow as well. Have a beautiful evening.